Lumberjack Logic Live. I am your host, Neil Johnson, and I am very excited to be with you today because, folks, it is winning. It is the kind of winning that I love so much because the conservatives have finally beat the far leftists at their own game. That's right. There is nothing I like more than when leftists, they're now going to be virtue signaling all over the place, telling you how what the Republicans have done is wrong, even though they have done it in perpetuity for years and years and years and never been called out on it. So do me a favor, please smash that like, do chat in with where you're from. Love to see who's on the stream. It's a beautiful sunny day in northern Minnesota, let me tell you. And it's even more beautiful with news like this. I don't know if you guys all know, but so far, the redistricting battle in Texas, that has been, the Democrats were defeated at the Supreme Court, so that is going through. That means Jasmine Crockett's district will probably be gone. Now, she's signaling she wants to run for the U.S. Senate. I don't believe Jasmine Crockett can win in a statewide election in Texas. I would love to see the Democrat Party waste a bunch of money on that. I don't believe she can even win with the fraud, which is being addressed too. That's another big thing. Harmeet Dillon and the Department of Justice have taken that on. I think they just purged 260,000 dead voters off the rolls. Keep a tab on election integrity, folks, if you want to know where we're going to win, because without that, it ain't going to happen, okay? So Harmeet's doing the Lord's work there. But I want you to know, Gavin Newsom in California thought he was going to be all tough with his Prop 50, and somehow we were going to lose 5 seats out there because Texas 5 seats. Well, Indiana has now redistricted, folks. And it's interesting because the Indiana story is so fascinating to me, and I can't remember the state lawmaker's name out there, but he got all upset when Donald Trump called Tim Walz a retard. This is a guy who's got DUI charges and everything else. And he's where was I going, folks? Where was I going? I just totally lost my train of thought. No, this guy out in Indiana, he said, "Oh, I can't vote for redistricting. Trump has to earn his votes and all of that." Well, they voted it through. It's going to be a 9-0 map now in Indiana, 9 seats to nothing. Now, I want you guys, so a lot of us on the right, okay, I got to address this really quickly. We have a real sense of fair play. And we're like, hey, Neil, do you really want that to happen? Do you really want it to be the case where we're just redistricting all these states and gerrymandering these states? Not necessarily. Okay? But let me ask you a question. How are you going to fight and win in this climate when these are the numbers? Massachusetts, which is 36% Republican, has how many Republican seats in Congress? Could you guys take a guess on some of these numbers? Massachusetts, it's 36% Republican. Okay, that's why I'm saying we're beating the left at their own game. 36% Republican, a bunch of congressional seats. How many Republican congressional seats are there? Okay? No, Dan, it's worse than that. You say if we don't, the Dems will. The Dems already have. This is why we're going to beat them at their own game. You folks are getting it right. All right, the next question. Connecticut, 42% Republican, a bunch of congressional seats. How many Republican congressional seats in the great state of Connecticut? Okay? Now, Maine is a little different, okay? So although it's 46% Republican, no, it's 0, TH2, 0. Okay, these states have 0 Republican seats. Maine, is so small that I can see even if it's 46% Republican that it would have the potential of no seats. New Mexico, though, 46% Republican, 0 congressional seats. New Hampshire, 48% Republican, 0 congressional seats. Rhode Island only has 1 seat, I do believe. Rhode Island's just 1, so it would not be surprising that would be the case. That'd be like comparing South Dakota and North Dakota. I'm looking at this list here. Vermont, though, 32% Republican, 0 seats. Hawaii, 38% Republican, 0 seats. Delaware, 42% Republican, 0 seats. But Those don't tell the whole story because some of those are so small. But listen to this. California, 38% Republican. It's only 9 of 52 states. And so now Gavin Newsom's going to gerrymander it more. I want you to think about the lunacy of this. We're already only getting 21% representation in California. See, Illinois is 3 of 17 seats. It's at 17.6% representation for a population that's 44% Republican. New York, 43% Republican, only 27% representation. Maryland, 34% down to 12.5. New Jersey, 46 down to 25. Oregon, they have one conservative congressional seat in Oregon, one Republican seat out of 6. And it's 41% Republican. You can't find a liberal in Eastern Oregon, folks. So here's the thing. When you listen to the news and they're saying when Republicans are redrawing these maps, it's a threat to democracy and they're trying to steal congressional seats. But Democrats have been doing this all along and they're calling it democracy itself, folks. It's like you don't understand. They're just doing the right thing. So here's the deal, folks. I'm going to go on to this. I'm going to go to an article out of CBS News. Listen to this. Maps show how Texas, California, Missouri, North Carolina, Indiana, and Utah redistricting could affect congressional seats. North Carolina is the latest state to join a mid-decade redistricting gambit that could shake up next year's midterms, following similar moves by Missouri, Texas, and California to redraw their congressional maps, and a separate court-ordered effort in Utah. Now, here's what I want you to know about this. Understand that the Democrats have already overplayed their hands on redistricting. They've already redistricted the snot out of everything. There's nowhere left for them to go. They need to get some My Coffee, folks. They can get some at mypillow.com. Promo code Lumberjack, folks. Actually, here, real quick, I just want to show you something. Look at this. Okay, so the new setup. Okay, if you don't have Giza sheets, they're back in stock. Go get some. Just stop thinking about it. Get some. Do it for yourself. These are the softest, greatest sheets ever known to man. So I got the Giza sheets. Then I've got, this is made with Giza cotton too. It's the waffle blanket. Okay. And I got that in the sage. Oh, baby, it's so soft. Okay. And then I've already got the down comforter, and now I have the duvet to cover that. In Giza cotton as well. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. Giza cotton. Go get some. mypillow.com/lumberjack or call 1-800-568-2865. 568-2865. All right, listen to this. The redistricting push began when President Trump last summer pressed Texas Republicans to redistrict and increase the number of GOP seats. Greg Abbott signed legislation in August to redraw the districts and create 5 GOP-friendly seats. The greatest part about this, folks, is Jasmine Crockett's seat is part of this. I just love it. Okay? Launching the first salvo in a battle that has spread to other states. Gavin Newsom, in turn, launched the effort to redraw California's map to help Democrats in November. In Missouri, now here's what's really funny. I want you guys to listen to this. This is CBS News. Talking about Gavin Newsom's plan. In November, it was approved by voters by a 29-point margin. I need to ask you guys this question here. How many of you honestly believe that a 29-point margin carried that in California? Or do you think there was a little bit of fraud at play? Do you remember Gavin Newsom's recall vote and how it looked like early polling all said? If you go to the polling on the redistricting in California, Michelle, good to see you on. Okay, if you look at the early poll or the polling that came out of California on this whole redrawing the districts, the people of California said they didn't like the plan. But somehow it wins with 29-point margin. You know, people are leaving California in droves, okay? In Missouri, state lawmakers redrew their map in September to squeeze Democratic Rep. Emanuel Cleaver from his Kansas City district. Do you know what's funny about Emanuel Cleaver? Did any of you guys ever see the video when the man in Congress ended the prayer and he said, okay, so, you know, he ends the prayer and goes, a man and a woman. That was his end of the prayer. Instead of amen, he did a man and a woman. That was Emmanuel Cleaver, and he's getting squeezed out of Congress. Oh my gosh, folks. Some of these people, you see the biggest Looney Tunes are in these protected Democrat districts, and now it ain't going to work out so well for them. Then in October, North Carolina state Republicans redrew the first congressional map held by a Democrat to make it more favorable to conservatives. And I saw somebody on X, a liberal, post the map of Virginia, and they're like, it's going to happen here next. Do you know how many folks, Virginia, we elected a Republican governor the time before, which actually has a lot of conservative areas. Do you know how many congressional seats in Virginia are represented by Republicans? Yeah, exactly. They've already redistricted the snot out of that. So if they go and pick up another seat out of Virginia, it doesn't matter. Where the map can be changed is in the conservative states. See, they've already gerrymandered the snot out of the Northeast, out of California, out of Washington, Oregon, places like this. So where the meat is, where we can actually win, is in the conservative states. Okay? In Missouri, state lawmakers redrew their map in September. Okay, yep. In Indiana, despite their initial reluctance, lawmakers reconvened in December to redraw their congressional map, aiming to create 2 more Republican seats and change their U.S. House delegation from 7-2 to 9-0. Utah lawmakers also reworked their state map. This is what's interesting. Utah, where we can't seem to get a good Republican to save our lives. I mean, Mitt Romney, come on. Who's their weak senator now? I mean, Lee's pretty good. I took Lee to task over the public lands issue. But on a whole, Senator Lee's pretty good out there. But that other guy, I can't even remember his name right now. He's just weak. In Utah and their governor, weak. Okay? And listen to this. Utah is being forced to rework their state map after a judge ruled the current districts violated restrictions on gerrymandering. All 4 of the state's House districts are represented by Republicans, but a judge in November threw out the GOP-controlled legislators' map and ordered a new one that will create a Democrat-leaning district in Salt Lake City. Okay, so that would be a pickup for the Dems of 1. But the bottom line is when this all shakes out, it is going to be more Republican-leaning districts. And you need to understand, because we heard Ketanji Brown Jackson's weak arguments at the Supreme Court when they were talking about not redistricting based on race. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but Ketanji Brown Jackson basically said that Black people were disabled and compared it to the Americans with Disabilities Act. I mean, if there's anything more racist than that, I don't know what is. Now you're going to call Black people disabled? And they're upset about President Trump trashing Somalia. Yeah, you cannot. These people are just too much for me. Challenges remain in all states that are redoing their maps. In Texas, a federal court blocked the state from using the newly redrawn map. Okay, but that got defeated. Congressional maps are normally redrawn every 10 years after the U.S. Census reveals population shift. But this is a rare mid-decade redistricting push that was kicked off as Republicans seek to maintain or even expand their razor-thin majority in Congress in 2026 midterm elections. Historically speaking, midterms are often a rebuke of the party in the White House. Okay, let's address that because this is CBS fake news. This needs to be addressed. Okay, it's true they are normally redrawn every 10 years. After the U.S. Census reveals population. How many of you know what happened with the last U.S. Census? Chat in the chat if you know. And I'm not talking about the illegal aliens that are counted in the census that are giving disproportionate representation to people who aren't even here legally, who aren't even U.S. citizens. Thank you, Raymond. Okay. But what happened with the last census was they miscounted. Minnesota actually was supposed to have lost a seat. Okay. There were a number of states, blue states, that should have been losing seats. It ended up being, I want to say, 7 seats that were awarded to Democrats by fake numbers in the U.S. Census. And you know what's really crazy, folks? I read an article on this. They used AI to do it. They used AI. It was a complete scam and fraud. That's why Trump is calling for a new census. But since he's having so much trouble with that, that's why he approached Governor Abbott. Okay, because this is what would make this up. So I want to really put a word of caution out there too. As big of wins as this is going to be, and how this can shift the congressional map, there is no guarantee, folks. You have got to. We do have, and this is not. I'm not trying to lessen the issues of fraud or anything like that, and everybody freaks out when I say things like this, but we are a lower propensity voter historically. Okay, the conservatives are a lower propensity voter than the Democrats in midterm elections, especially. Okay, one of the things that happened with the Tea Party patriots is they kind of had that turnaround in that. That's one of the reasons the IRS went after them so big, is because of those issues. Again, do me a favor, please smash that like and chat in with where you're from if you just jumped on the stream. Love to hear from you. Mike will win in the Dem vote in Minnesota because they love his products. Well, some of them are really triggered by Mike's products, but I do want to, folks, I say this with all sincerity, since Michelle brought this up, and Mike Lindell, he's running for governor. You guys know I'm going to actually go down there next week on the 11th to his announcement at the Pillow Factory. I'm going to meet up with some other friends down there, and I will be covering Mike Lindell's announcement for governor. And he's my friend, so he's going to have my vote. There is a crowded field running for governor in Minnesota right now. I want to say it's at least 10 people. And there's other good candidates out there, and it's a primary. I am not going to hold anything against anybody for supporting somebody else. There's a guy by the name of Philip C. Parrish who's running. Actually, I have a friend up here in Hibbing that's running, a business owner, John Kerheen. I know we got Lisa DeMuth running. I know a lot of these people just through the legislature. Dr. Scott Jensen, who I've interviewed before, is running for governor in Minnesota. It's going to be a crowded field, okay? But all that aside, whether Mike wins the nomination or doesn't, I think he probably has a pretty good chance because the base really loves Mike. But I tell you to go support, and look at this. Mike has pillows and sheets and all that. I talk about that. But he's got the kitchen towels. These are great. These are antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial. They're pre-shrunk, 100% cotton. Okay, look at this. Socks. I am completely sold on merino wool socks. It is all I wear when I go out hunting. I'm not going to wear anything else. You can get those. They're made in the USA. So, when I talk about My Pillow, and some people are like, hey, you talk about My Pillow too much. No, I don't. Mike's business has suffered, okay? People are shopping at Walmart every day for crap products made by people in China or people who hate him, okay? Go support Mike. He loves this country. He loves you. You should be thinking in terms of the parallel economy. You should be thinking in terms of supporting people who actually support your values. Okay, so you can support this show, you can support Mike, all of that. Okay, mypillow.com/lumberjack, 1-800-568-2865. We all went through terrible censorship. We went through all kinds of different attacks from leftist freaks. And I don't believe that the answer is completely pulling out of the culture, okay? But I do believe that when there are alternative products and we can buy from somebody like that, then we should. And if there's some other American-made product you want to get for Christmas, go do that. But support them, but seriously support Mike, and you can support the show. All right, enough on that. But I just wanted to make that point. Hopefully do y'all get what I'm saying? I know he's like a sponsor. I have a code. I do make money. Okay, so that's one of the ways that this show makes it. So you can support the show that way too. But I also just believe that. And I bought products that other podcasters who are conservative podcasters, and they have promo codes, and I've used them. Whether it was Dan Bongino or Mike Gallagher or whomever. All right. So, but for my pillow, the only code you need to know is lumberjack. All right. Congressional maps are normally redrawn every 10 years. Yes. But since the census was miscounted, Trump is making this push mid-era. The other thing is there's that big case before the Supreme Court talking about racial gerrymandering, folks. And if that goes away, it's going to change a lot of these blue states. There will be no more racial gerrymandering. The Republicans are going to gain probably 20 seats in Congress just off that alone. If we get a new census without illegal aliens, it's game over, folks. If we get the illegals out of this country who are voting illegally, there are so many forces at work against us. So when I see a story like this, that we are actually fighting fire with fire, and we are taking away the advantage of the gerrymandered Northeast and West Coast, this is big news, folks. I hope you understand just how big this news is, just how important this is. And if you are in a conservative state, you should be calling your reps and pushing that they get better representation in the United States Congress based upon the gerrymandering in these blue states. Blue states are continuing to bleed voters. They're continuing to bleed population, okay? And as they bleed that population, they're going to filter out into red states. They like the policies of lower taxes. They'll go on and wreck them if we allow that to happen. We as conservatives, and this is why it's so frustrating, because our politicians suck so bad, but we just need them to vote the right way, okay? That's all we need out of them. I've gotten past caring about a lot of things. I just want a conservative voting record, a real conservative voting record. Because I was just talking with my son about this. We were talking, I just had to buy a new camera, for my videography and photography business. And it was a couple $1,000. It's this camera right here. It's a Nikon Z6 III. But they've got it on sale right now, and it's $2,100, which is a phenomenal deal for what it will do. And then he does some welding, and I said, well, it's like anything, you just always have to invest in the business. I said, if you have, he goes, yeah, well, how much is a good generator? Like, how much is, we have a generator because we live off grid. Our Honda 6000 or 6500 inverter generator. It's the best generator you can buy in a gas powered generator, and it's like $6,000 to $7,000. I got a used one. I found a good deal. I mean, I'm kind of a frugal guy, but the bottom line is I told him how much those were new, and he goes, "That's just ridiculous. I mean, how much do you think it really costs them to make that?" And I said, "Well, here's the great thing, Jeremiah." I said, "The free market works. If somebody can make it that much cheaper, somebody will come along and make it." I said, "I don't know how much they've got into R&D in that generator, but you need to understand the free market economy competition. If somebody can make it faster, cheaper, better, they're going to do it, and they're going to take the market share, because that's what you do, especially in developed markets. The only way to grab more business is to increase market share. You have to steal that business from the competition, and the way you do that is by making a more competitive product. It's a meritocracy. That's what I love about America. Okay, that's what it should always be and should always remain. But conservatives in those positions need to vote that way consistently so we can really see a meritocracy at work. We're having the wrong debate on healthcare, folks. The government shouldn't be involved in it at all. If you haven't learned anything from the Minnesota fraud story, the government should not be involved in any of this. How could our government in Minnesota not know when the went from like $2 million to $288 million in the autism centers? How could they not know there was fraud? How could they not know? Like, and then Tim Walz wants to run around and act like he wasn't incompetent. Are you kidding me? He talks about how well managed the state was. How do you go from $2 million to $288 million in fraud in just that one area and say that the state is managed properly? There's no way. You're going to tell me that you've got over 100-fold increase in this number of years and nobody saw that? Nobody saw that? Like, what the hell? Who believes that? Does anybody in my audience honestly believe that Tim Walz didn't know what was going on? Seriously, yes or no? It's just pissing me off to no end. They're like, oh, well, and we've got our state investigators on the scene. The state investigators only came on the scene because the FBI and the DOJ came on the scene. It's the only reason. It's the only reason. They didn't hand over evidence to have federal investigators do the job. That was never what happened. That is a false narrative. It is a complete lie from the state of Minnesota for Governor Walz that that's what took place, because it didn't take place at all. The DOJ investigated first. They had to hand over documents, okay, because otherwise they would be, that would just really look bad. Worse than it looks already right now, because now they're trying to claim that they're the ones doing the investigation. Oh, it's freaking nuts. This is Minnesota, which should have lost a congressional seat. This is why gerrymandering is so important, because we're not getting a new census, it appears, because I haven't seen that being done yet. Okay? But the fact that Republicans got enough of a backbone in Texas, in Indiana, and the conservative judges on the Supreme Court didn't yield to the public pressure and the media pressure and actually approved the Texas map. Folks, this is how we're going to win. This is it. Wow, I got off on a big rant there. I went from free markets to Tim Walz to back to redistricting. Holy cow, I don't know. Anyways, hopefully you stuck with me through all of that. Okay. Abbott then called a special session of the legislature with redistricting on the agenda, of course. Then, do you remember when the Democrats left in Texas? That was all part of this story too, because they left because, they were like, no, So 2 weeks into the 30-day special session, Texas Democrats fled the state to deny a quorum and prevent the legislation from coming to the floor. And then Abbott said he was going to go out and arrest them. They were hiding out in Illinois and D.C. Do you guys remember this? This is nuts. We are in a news cycle that is so insane right now that everybody's looking for the latest news and they're forgetting what happened. That's why politicians are able to get away with their fraud, their grift, and their scandals. This is why Katie Porter, do you guys remember what happened with Katie Porter out in California? Do you remember the interviews when she was dropping the F-bombs and we heard about her staff and how bad she was? Okay? And it's all forgotten, and Katie Porter's the front runner. We are in a new age where they can just ignore the scandals, ignore their fraud and grift, and realize, oh, it's just going to go away. And then we'll just, I get so frustrated because what do you do? I cover this stuff and I'm like, people are forgetting it every day because there's a new story breaking and there's so much fraud. We're becoming immune to it. Are you surprised? Is anybody in my audience? Seriously, I just want, I write headlines, titles, thumbnails on YouTube because of a certain way that you have to write them to get a certain amount of clicks and so on, because otherwise, the video doesn't go anywhere because people only check their homepage. They're not utilizing their subscription feed and controlling the information that comes to them. Instead, they allow YouTube just to tell them what they should watch. It's really bad. If you guys want a YouTube secret, okay, when you open up YouTube, okay, their homepage thing is going to populate all this stuff to you. And, for whatever reason, some of it's because they feel if you want to control the news that you get, if you find people you trust, go to your subscriptions tab on the side. It says subscriptions. Click your subscriptions, and then you can look at those channels, and you can go directly to those channels and see the new videos they've dropped. I had people, now recently YouTube's been a little more kind to me again, but there was a drought there, and it was literally getting out to no new audience and not a lot of my current audience. And then when there's a couple videos recently that did pretty good, got a couple 100,000 views or whatever, and people are like, "Oh, Neil, you're back on YouTube." Back on YouTube. I didn't leave. I go through times of high production, low production, times of demonetization, strikes, all that kind of stuff. YouTube's left me alone for a little while. But the bottom line is you need to be better at controlling that. Okay. Amid this push, other states have also started to discuss redistricting efforts, including Indiana and Florida, which could net Republicans several more seats. And of course, Indiana just did this. Now, Florida is going to redistrict as well. And I want to say that's going to pick up. Does anybody know the number of seats we're expected to pick up in Florida? I knew this number. I want to say it's 5 to 7. Anybody got the number on Florida? The number of seats that Ron DeSantis is expecting to get out of Florida by the redistricting there. Okay. How many of you know? How many of you know? There's a big thing going on. 5 to 6. Okay. That's why I knew it was somewhere in 5 to 7 or something like that. So the bottom line is this, folks. When you look at all the seats that are up for redistricting, okay. Damn Fluff, thank you for that comment. When you look at all the seats that are up for redistricting, this has got the Dems in total panic because they have redistricted too much. They have gerrymandered too much. There is nowhere for them to go. There's nowhere for them to go. I saw some negative comment about Ron DeSantis. I like the guy. I mean, he's doing good work down there in Florida. And if you talk to the people in Florida, they love him. So I tend to look at the policies people have to live under as a governor. I never cared that he was in a primary fight with Donald Trump. Never cared one bit. Won't ever. I think primaries are good. I don't care who wants to be in a primary fight. Everybody has the right to run for president. I don't know where you guys are on that. Where are you guys all at on that? I mean, it's so funny to me. I mean, people get all upset about, Ron, he ran against Trump and therefore, he's just bad. What? I mean, I thought that's like, if you feel you have better ideas, then run. I mean, maybe somebody in my audience wants to run. I don't care. Then you have your chance to present your information to the voters. Okay? Whatever. I was supporting Trump, but I was totally good with Ron DeSantis running. Totally good with him running. I think his policies have done really well down in Florida. So other people go freak out about it all they want. I remember I lost subscribers over that. I mean, because I was saying that Ron DeSantis had every right to run. You just got a nice deal on 2 pillows, jump shot take. Hey, that's awesome. Awesome. Glad. Yeah, the pillows they're phenomenal deals over at MyPillow. MyPillow.com/lumberjack, folks. No, seriously, you're buying Christmas gifts. Go get them from Mike. You can go to mystore.com too, and then there's American-made products on there that you can buy. Anyhow, so this is all taking place right now, and this redistricting push, the fact that there's another big story. Oh, gosh, there's so many stories out of Minnesota. I should really just be doing Minnesota. But this redistricting thing is big. But the Justice Department, the Trump Justice Department, let me see if I can just pull this. I should do my own video on this, but I'm just going to give it to you now. Because, well, here, I'm going to have to hold up the computer screen. But this is a big story, folks. Let's see. Okay, here we go. It's a big story. I want you to look at this guy here on my computer screen. Okay, this guy. Good luck. Take a good look at the picture. I'll tell you what's going on. All right. What nationality is this guy? His name is Abdamat Mohammed. Okay. He is a 28-year-old, and he is a repeat sex offender. Okay. Okay. Help me out. So here's the deal. The FBI have brought the DOJ have brought federal kidnapping charges against him. Now, why did they have to bring federal kidnapping charges against him? Well, because Mary Moriarty, who is the prosecuting attorney of Hennepin County, listen to this. Breaking from Alpha News, this was yesterday. In a stunning statement, Democrat Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty claims the DOJ is attempting to politicize a sexual assault persecution to inflict further harm on our entire Somali community. In a statement, Moriarty defends her office's failure to secure any prison time for serial rapist Abdamat Mohammed. Okay? This is not a complete, I will say this much. I am not, I'm not for the Somali refugee program. It doesn't. I have met some decent Somali folks, but on a whole, the culture is incongruent with our culture here. I'm just that's just a reality, folks. That's not racist to say that. Cultures have so Somalia is a culture rife with fraud, abuse, and all of that, and it's incompatible. That doesn't mean that some of them haven't adapted to America and decide they want a better life. You guys, am I making sense to everybody? But that doesn't mean that because of the harms of the many that you don't actually look at the issue. Okay, so here's her actual. This is what this is her actual statement to the Department of Justice on prosecuting Abdulmet Mohammed. Here it is. This is from Mary Moriarty again. Yesterday's DOJ press release is a clear attempt to politicize a sexual assault prosecution to inflict further harm on our entire Somali community. We know this is a political stunt because we are well aware of the DOJ's track record on violence against women under the current administration. Seriously, she said this. Those who actually prosecute sexual assault cases every day know there are significant evidentiary hurdles to obtaining a prison sentence that incapacitates the defendants so they can't inflict more harm in the community. This office overcame the loss of critical witnesses to secure felony convictions against Mr. Mohammed earlier this year. Because our case was substantially weakened, we could not get the prison sentence we wanted. Losing witnesses is one of the realities of prosecuting difficult sexual assault cases, something about which the current Justice Department knows little. While the DOJ performs politics at the expense of victims, our office provides actual support to victims every day by upholding victims' rights, providing culturally responsive and trauma-informed services, okay, and prioritizing victim safety and needs. How are you prioritizing victim safety when you let them back out on the street? Okay, now listen to this. I'm gonna give you the actual background on this person. Abdulmet Mohammed, a 28-year-old repeat sex offender, has been federally charged with 2 counts of kidnapping. The charges come as Mohammed has been the subject of national media attention following state charges of kidnapping and sexual assault. The Somali national in Minnesota is charged with raping a minor and multiple adult women before being detained, only to be quickly released by a local court, after which he committed yet another rape, said U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. This horrific case illustrates how left-wing soft-on-crime policies and vetting failures put innocent people at dire risk. If Minnesota will not protect its own people, the Department of Justice will do it for them, added the Attorney General. Last year, Mohammed, okay, guys, listen to this. She said that she didn't have witnesses and all this kind of stuff, right? Here's the truth of the matter. Listen up. Last year, Mohammed pleaded guilty in 2 separate SA cases. In one of those cases, a 15-year-old female was assaulted at gunpoint in 2017. The other case involved an adult female who was also essayed after being threatened in 2024. In both cases, the most serious charges against Mohammed were dropped, and he pleaded guilty to 3rd-degree criminal essay and 5th-degree criminal essay conduct. Mohammed was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but the sentence was stayed. Mohammed was ordered to register as a sex offender and complete 5 years of probation. He did not serve any time in prison. Not one. Mohammed's sentencing orders were signed by Judge Juan Hoyos. Now, how do you take a person who pleads guilty and lose the case that badly? And then say that, oh, well, we lost witnesses, we lost this. She is full of crap. How many of you folks believe that Mary Moriarty is full of crap? Yes or no in the comments. This is the kind of stuff so these soft on crime DAs are a huge problem right now in the country. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Seriously, it's really easy. It's free. I'm not going to charge you for subscribing. You know, I mean, we could just do members only videos or something, but I'm not charging you. It's free. You can support a great channel. And another way to support this great channel is go over to mypillow.com/lumberjack. Get your Christmas presents there. The kitchen towels are amazing. They're antiviral, antimicrobial. And folks, they actually absorb. Okay, Katarina, good to see you on the stream. The made in America merino wool socks, and my favorite products are the Giza sheets, Giza blankets, Giza duvets, all of it. And I got the down comforter too. I love it, man. There's nothing better than a down comforter. But anyways, thanks so much for joining me today. MyPillow.com/lumberjacker 1-800-568-2865. I love y'all. Peace out.